Hello friends, it is that time again with that Eriegon, and today we are going to start my new player and getting started guide series for Middle-earth: Shadows of War mobile. Now this is a free mobile game for Android and iOS. It is published under Warner Brothers Games. It's an action RPG set in the world of famous author J.R. Tolkien, the creator of one of the most beloved fantasy series, The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. So the basis of this game is established around the Shadow of Modor video game, which was a storyline focused around your main hero, Talion. It took place between the stories of Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. The story, while awesome, is not considered official canon, so I would suggest, if you're interested, look up some good lore or Wikipedia articles, or play the game if you want to know more. But the quick and dirty is that Talion is garrisoned in Mordor. His family gets captured and is sacrificed by Sauron's forces. The forces attempt to summon one of the original elven ring lords, Celebrimbor, who doesn't remember who he is, and he helps save Talion, and they kind of merge together. Hilarity ensues, they meet with Gollum, etc., etc. So, for part one of this guide, I'm going to do a quick overview of the game's style, features, and maybe some things it does different from others in the genre. So, one, this is an RPG level gear rank grinding game, akin to some other popular games of the same style, like the most notable Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, which I play a lot, Marvel Future Fight, DC Legends, just to name a few. These games follow a similar pattern of there being a player level, which you increase to increase your capacity of resources and the maximum level of your champions. Much like the others in this style, you will follow along with story missions to obtain experience, gear, level up materials, and champion glyphs, which you use to evolve your characters to a maximum of 7 stars. Unlike other games, though, Shadow of War has particular ranks in those stars. Now, your initial reaction might be, what a ripoff is, but this is actually a good thing. In other games, for example, to go from 6 to 7 stars, you would need maybe 100 glyphs to reach 7 stars. You would see no benefit of your efforts during the accumulation of those 100 shards until you have them all. In Shadows of War, you get 5 incremental increases, so while you go through the process, you are getting rewarded for some of your work every 1/5 of the way. So this is a good benefit and a great change to this style of games. Now I'm going to cover champions in part 2. So, playstyle. Now, here's the fun part. It's a vertical held game, unlike some of the more common ones which are horizontal. You take 4 champions and 1 orc into your party. Your champions will auto-attack and move without your intervention. However, they won't use abilities. You can click autoplay and they will at least use your abilities. The more fun way to play and advise when you're doing harder missions is to manually control. You can tap and drag champions to move them, to micromanage them in and out of harm's way if they're taking too much damage, for example. They have a main skill that you can use once your yellow power meter fills up, and that can be dragged onto enemies, or if it's a friendly ability, onto your team. Double tapping a monster will focus fire, and that's pretty much about it. Gameplay and tips will get its own video in this series. Okay, so what are champions? These are the building blocks of your team, and they represent the characters of the Lord of the Rings universe. They have classes and other statistics that might interact with other passives, such as man, elf, or ring bearer. Next, your characters have a ring and ring level. Rings will provide stat boosts and the increases are fixed for each champion. Each champion has 7 rings, and once all ring slots are full, you can increase your ring rank, and the process starts again, typically with a much better and harder to farm ring component. Typically, in these games, gear is king and will be very important to your progress. More often than not, a higher gear level is better than a star level. However, it is costly, and you're quickly going to burn through your Miriam, which is the in-game farmable currency. So spend it wisely, don't spread yourself too thin across champions you may not use, or you're going to hit a wall pretty quick. So after rings, Shadows of War has a customization option called runes, which give you a choice between 3 static choices. It looks like you can freely change between these, and there are 3 tiers of the rune depending on your ring level. And finally, there are skills which will level up, which you can use during your leveling up process, but the skills also have level ups. You get 10 abilities that refresh over every 5 minutes at VIP 0, which is a free-to-play player. Keep an eye on your ability points and be sure to cap your skills on your most used champions. So what do you do with these champions? Okay, at its core, you're going to use them to complete missions, find greater rewards, do harder challenges, and obtain more valuable champion glyphs. Down the line, I assume there will be some sort of rating system or PvP for increased challenges. They also have a rotating scheduled mission style called Warlords, which have specific rewards that rotate in and out, and they might have character type restrictions. I'm going to cover this in later videos. Missions are done using energy, which should be familiar to anyone who's ever played any of these mobile games. And a lot of people tend to get upset about this mechanic. They're feeling forced to come back in and out of the game. Well, it's tested and it works. These games make large amounts of money, and typically way more than your traditional buy-to-play games. So this system, for a reason, is in place because it works, and it makes money no matter how much you complain about it. The mission awards are up to 3 stars. 3 stars can be achieved by finishing a mission without having any of your champions die. If you complete all missions in an episode, you're going to unlock hard mode, which has limited entries, usually 3 per day or 3 per reset. And these will introduce character glyphs, which are obtained by farming the hard missions, which will be a part of your daily routine. Speaking of your daily routine, there's a list of daily quests. So far, they seem to be static, and they award a good amount of experience, Mirian, and at the end of a daily completion of all of them, you're going to get 50 crystal bonus. I would suggest at early levels that you at the very least complete your daily missions every day for optimal experience and currency gain. Speaking of currency, Shadows of War has 4. The Miriam, which we talked about, which is the in-game currency. Gemstones, which is your real-world currency. And energy, obviously, is in a way it is a currency, and we've discussed that above. And then we have dominance, which is used to power and level up your orcs. Now, this brings us up to orcs. A quick overview only, because it's a pretty complex new system. But orcs are obtained through Nemesis system, which you might be familiar if you played the Shadow of War game. Basically, you will meet a randomly generated orc in certain stages, the Nemesis stages, and upon defeating them, you can elect to brand them or executing them. Brand them lets you keep the orc to use on your missions. You can only carry 1 orc, which you can summon during the match if you've taken a certain amount of damage. Orcs can be leveled up same way as champions, but they use dominance and other experience items to level them up. You can also duel with your orcs to obtain glory, which is combined with dominance to evolve your orcs' ranks and stars. And finally, you have orc missions, which are time-based missions that you can send them out for rewards. Now, be careful, your orcs can die on a mission. They also die when they duel, and they require resurrection tokens to be brought back to life. And this seems to be pretty costly, so, do rewards missions at your own risk. So far, I haven't seen much value to it. For example, I can do a 4-hour orc mission and get 35 Mirian with the chance of one of my orcs dying. It doesn't sound so great. But more on orcs in its own video. As I said, it's pretty complex. So that's it, guys. Just a quick overview on each of the core components. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, please be sure to drop a like, subscribe on the video. You can click on the little bell to be notified when I go live or when videos post. So as my channel is mainly focused on 2 games, Crowfall and Shadow of War, I hope we can provide great content for both of these amazing games. So any suggestions on what you want to see, please feel free to message me. I'm available on YouTube. Our fellowship's Discord is in the video description below. And always, this has been That Eriegon, and until next time, take care, friends.